Let's walk through an example of importing a clean CSV file into EDC. We will do this two ways. We'll start by using the import wizard, and then we will repeat the same import using the description file created and saved using the first import wizard. To start the import, we will click on the Maintenance tab and then open the Box and File Maintenance module, and from the File menu select Import Data with Wizard. The first screen of the import wizard prompts for information about the data file. What table are we importing to? The box or file table. What is the name of the data file we're importing, and where can we find it? What format are we importing from? Options are CSV or Excel. We recommend CSV. If it is a CSV, does the data contain headers, which we typically recommend using? How is it separated? This is typically a comma. And how is text delimited if necessary, and this is typically a quotation mark. Now that we have described our data file, we can proceed to map this from this data file into EDC. The Import Wizard window contains 5 columns. The first specifies the field into which we are importing in EDC. The second allows us to enter a value selected from the spreadsheet. The third allows us to specify a default value which is not pulled from the spreadsheet and will only be used in the case of creating new records. The fourth little column here specifies the data type, whether it's alphanumeric, A for alphanumeric or text, N for number, D for date, B for Boolean, which accepts plus or minus as values. And then we can also specify conversion options. For date formats with 2-digit years, the epoch value determines which are treated as 1900s and which are 2000. In mapping data into EDC, we'll start by considering what data has been provided. We'll analyze where it belongs in EDC for this specific customer, and it's important that we are consistent with this. And we will also ensure that all values required by EDC in order to create new records are provided. EDC requires the customer key in order to match the correct account. Either the RC number if the box already exists, or the box number in order to match the box for updates, or if the box does not exist, a box number. The activity or status of the box, whether it's in, out, or pre-add, department and subdepartment, the document type, and also the volume of the box. The remaining fields are descriptive and may be very important for finding boxes, but are not required in order to perform the import. We will enter the customer key as a default value. Next, we will select the box number from the spreadsheet, and since the customer used in this demo has a box number length of 5 characters, we will use the conversion options to pad it to 5 with zeros. The box status is also a required field. We will typically use pre-add in the default column, since this will only affect new boxes created with the import. If the customer knows the earliest and latest creation date of documents in the box, entering a start and end date can be very useful in helping them to identify the box that might contain their document. Note that it is very important that we specify the date format used in the source data for each date field imported. Note that with the date format and epoch values that we're using, values greater than 60 will be treated as 20th century and values less than 60 will be treated as 21st. Box volume is also a required field. Note that if a box is in pre-add, this box will take on the size of the first sized location that it is moved to. Once the map has been completely filled out, it is worth double checking that the boxes are padded to the correct length, the date formats are all correct, and if appropriate, that any new boxes will be created in pre-add. We can then proceed to the next page of the wizard, which specifies import options. If all boxes in the data file should already exist in EDC, we will specify box modify only. If all boxes are new, we will specify do not update existing records. There are several advanced options that relate to various verifications that EDC performs on import. For example, if a value in the data file is longer than the field in EDC will accept, EDC will place as much of the information as possible into the field and will put the full value and the field name into the notes field. If we are expecting many values to be truncated and do not wish to be notified in the import log, we can specify skip truncation warning. If you want the import to affect the state of a box, it is necessary to specify the allow state change option. This is not very widely used. By default, values imported into notes fields are appended to the end. If you wish to overwrite existing notes, you can specify replace notes instead of append. Once we are done with the import options, the next screen will allow us to see the description file. The description file is the actual product of the mapping that we've created. The wizard helps us to test this file and allows us to save it for reuse. The top panel contains information about the data file as well as any import options that we have selected. The lower panel displays information from the mapping. It starts with the default values that we have specified, and then contains information for each field that we have opted to import from the spreadsheet. Each field starts with begin field and ends with end field, and in between contains the EDC field that's being imported to, the field to take from the spreadsheet, the type of field, and any conversion options that have been applied. A saved description file can be edited with a text editor such as Notepad. Next, we will test the import and make any necessary modifications to the description file. The test creates a temporary record and attempts to import the first line of data into it. Note that no data is actually modified. We will click the test button and then review the import log that is produced. If we look at the bottom of the import log, we see that the record that we attempted to import was skipped. If we look above, we see that the box was not found and could not be updated. We received this message because we had specified box modify only, and this box was apparently a new box. We will go back and make the necessary change. Repeating the test after these modifications, we see that one box was added and there are no error messages. The test import was successful. The next report displays the box record that would be created, allowing us to verify that our import is putting the correct information into the correct fields. If we are happy with the results, we can click Save As to save the description file, and then click Finish to perform the actual import. Imports have the potential to affect many records and must be done with caution since they cannot be undone. If it is your first time doing a particular import, we recommend performing the import with just one line of data. Save the description file and have the customer review to see if they like the way the data has been imported. Once it has been approved, you can use the description file to import the remaining data. Let's click Finish to proceed with the import. Prior to performing the import, you'll be required to provide confirmation and enter your password. Reviewing the last line of the import log, we see that our import was successful. In the example that we have just completed, we used the import wizard to produce a description file and then perform the import. It is also possible to do the same thing using a description file directly. In this example, I will start with an identical database to the one I used in the previous example, and I will use the description file that we produced to perform the import. If you are comfortable working with description files, you can open one up with a text editor and make changes and then use this to perform an import rather than using the import wizard. In this example, we will perform the import and then review the import log. From the Maintenance tab, open the Box and File Maintenance module. From the File menu, select Import, and then select the description file to use. Notice that when multiple imports are performed on the same day, the new import is appended to the end of the import log for that day. As expected, the import was successful. If you have any questions, please contact DocuData support.